all of that actually backfires when people discover this guy's a fraud, right? So before, everyone's loving this child. He's a young entrepreneur. He's well educated. He's white. He's American. So he's got that everything, every box ticked. But then now they find out he's fraud, and their trust is betrayed. They turn around. They come much harder on crypto. So they missed the bad guy, and now they're punishing all the remaining good guys and the bad guys together in crypto. They're just slaughtering everybody in crypto, right? So it's bad. And I think that's bad. That's just pure fraud scam. Like that's Madoff, right? In crypto.
It's been a while since CZ, founder and CEO of the largest crypto exchange in the world, Binance, came public and did an interview of his thoughts and his predictions for the future. And everyone understands why. After being attacked on social media and called one of the, if not the main ones responsible for the FTX collapse last year, regulators also opened their eyes to what CZ and Binance were doing. So everything he says or does may be used against him in the future, especially with this existing plot against crypto and Bitcoin. But this time, CZ came and did an interview where he talked about what he's doing in 2023, his view about what made those companies collapse, and what's happening in the markets. Today, we're going through most of it. If you want to see part 2, please help us get to 100 likes and subscribe, and we will drop his Bitcoin and crypto predictions as well. So let's get into the video right away.
So for me, I'm trying really, really hard to just focus on building products, education, compliance, etc. But the FUD keeps coming. Mm-hmm. But after a certain point, the FUD loses its marginal impact, right? So after a media writes 40 negative articles about you, the 41st is not going to have much more. So the marginal impact is lost, and we don't respond to them anymore. So so I think the mentality is still there. The reality is not as good as I would have hoped in terms of the amount of FUD, but we keep building. Yeah. If you use a centralized platform like Tether, like Binance, we want to be as transparent as possible, but there are limits. So in the last year, we've done proof of reserves. We actually did a new mechanism of proof of reserves using ZK Snarks. It was actually suggested by Vitalik, and we worked with their team to do that. There are limitations to proof of reserves. There are limitations to everything. So, and as a private company, we also need to make sure our privacy is protected, right? So if we publish all of our wallet addresses that we use, and you'll be very clear which vendors we use, and those vendors may be attacked by hackers. Our SMS providers, which has been attacked by hackers before. Our email providers, which has been attacked by hackers before. So there are privacy, security, and other competitive considerations. We're not a public company. We may not want to open our books so that our competitor knows exactly how much we spend on HR, exactly how much we spend on security, how much we spend on marketing. And then, so there are considerations there. So businesses are not complete transparent boxes, right? So they will, and Tether, right? So which bank do they use? And 4 or 5 years ago, every time they release which banks they use, that bank gets shut down, right? So there are real operational considerations. I'm not saying that. No, I do think that Tether is too much of a black box as an outsider. So. There are those considerations, and then there are FUD. There's FUD that comes in, and then there's what do the users believe, right? How do we find truth? So fundamentally, it's risk management. If you're using a new exchange platform, don't put all your money on one platform, and don't put all your money in one DeFi project. So that's risk management. Don't put all your money in one wallet. So there's diversification, and there's learning about the projects you interact with, learning about the platforms you use, learn about the ledger technologies, understanding those concepts. Education, I think, is the best thing. And then there are fraud, which are very hard to differentiate. FTX, we didn't see that coming. Luna, we could have seen that coming, to be honest. The design was flawed. You can't mint Luna to try to push back the UST. That doesn't work. Minting doesn't increase value.
What happened to FTX, according to CZ, and how is that affecting other companies, including Binance?
Very frank, I don't know what happened inside FTX, right? So our business are competitive in nature. So I try not to pry too much inside there. So from what I know is basically what everybody else knows is that they took customer funds and used that as to trade, trying to make money, and they actually did a poor job at that. And then they lost money, and then to the point where they lost all the customers' money pretty much. So that's basically it. And throughout that whole time, he was lying about it, right? He didn't tell the customers that he was doing this, etc. So it's serious. The situation was made worse by being how public he was, how much time he spent in Washington D.C., right, and how much time he spent talking to senators. He sponsored a third of the senators in Congress in the U.S., right, and then he was gonna be the biggest donor for Biden campaign next year. So now he's no longer. So all of that actually backfires when people discover this guy's a fraud. Right. So before, everyone's loving this child. He's a young entrepreneur. He's well educated. He's white. He's American. So he's got that everything, every box ticked. But then now they find out he's fraud, and their trust is betrayed. They turn around. They come much harder on crypto. So they missed the bad guy, and now they're punishing all the remaining good guys and the bad guys together in crypto. They're just slaughtering everybody in crypto, right? So it's bad. And I think that's bad. That's just pure fraud scam. Like that's Madoff, right? In crypto. Three Arrows was a mismanagement of funds. They lost a bit of money on Luna, and then they went a bit crazy, or they went very aggressive. They lost more money over time. And then Three Arrows probably brought down Voyager and Genesis because they moved a lot of money to them. It was a very convoluted web of loans, borrowing going on. I actually don't know the full story. I've seen bits and pieces of it. And then there was Genesis, and then even Gemini is somehow involved in there. And then FTX happened, which really exaggerated all of those things. So the industry does have systematic risk, right? So in this last 4 years, this DeFi cycle, there's a lot of borrowing, there's a lot of loans, there's a lot of high yield, APY. All of those are high risk. So if you want high returns, you're going to deal with high risk. So and also people should learn to judge businesses for what they are, right? So there are businesses that are very simple, that make money. Tether is one of them. They hold a large amount of reserves, and they just make money on interest rate that's billions of dollars. Binance, we run a slightly more heavier business. Our business model is very simple. People trade, we charge commissions. People can get a feel how many users we have. Just by the amount of FUD that we get, just by the amount of news articles that cover us, etc. So people can get a sense. And we run a simple, profitable business model, and we don't need to do that. And we also don't have loans, right? We even put out a tweet saying whoever can prove that we actually have any meaningful amount of loans from anybody can claim $15,000. We've done our part to be transparent, but the businesses have limitations on how transparent we can or will be. There is always a level of risk with any product you use, with any platform you use, with any contract, even using a bank, right? We've seen banks fail. And actually, we now know many of them fail. So I think it's really the fundamental risk management and ability to research and not get simple-minded, just read one article and believe everything in that article, both good and bad. All of those things need to come into play. But we don't teach our kids in school about this, right? So we don't students are young kids are taught in school to believe what they read, and that is not good. We need to teach more about critical thinking, challenging everything. So we need to drill those skills into young generations. But I think as the technology are providing more information, more access to decentralization, I think all of those things are coming together. Yeah.
In a world where people want to see more decentralization, security, and transparency, a company like Ledger, which most people in crypto consider the safest hardware wallet to protect their keys, also shown in its latest version that it has security issues and people can get their information stolen. This is what CZ has to say about this topic.
No one has lost money on Ledger yet, right? So they didn't take customers' money away. It was just they repositioned their product, which violates the fundamental principles of people using their product. We use Ledger because we were told that this is a device that keeps your private key on the device. It never leaves the device. Now suddenly there's a way for you to leave the device. I think even just having the API available breaks the trust, right? So now like it just increases a hacker attack surface. That itself is not fraud. It's just repositioning the product in a very abrupt way. I don't think that's thought through this very well. So as you said, we need to, as an industry, we shouldn't trust. The industry is supposed to be a trustless industry, so we shouldn't blindly trust people, and we should learn to risk control, and we should deal with that. Ledger, if there's plenty of other hardware wallets on the market, people can switch if they were. I do believe many people will switch because of the fundamental principles are now different for Ledger. If people wanted to use an online backed up wallet, then they will use an online backed up wallet. You don't need a hardware anymore. So I think they mixed up that positioning a bit. But overall though, the industry is early. In such early industries, there's always fraud, there's always bad players, there's always failures. And over time, the industry will sort of accumulate around a few large successful players. But then that's centralization. Today, I think Binance is too large. Binance.com, the centralized exchange, is too large. So I actually want to invest more in DeFi projects and make them grow. I think the future is DeFi, and they will be more decentralized.
And to close in part 1 of this interview, CZ also gives his advice to the industry.
So as an industry, it's better to have multiple players and at roughly equal sizes, more competition, more geographic distribution. So all of those will be better. And the more choices users have, the more competition there are, the stronger players will emerge eventually. So I think that's got to happen. Well, it is happening, but in the process, it's never smooth. It's always going to be issues.
Want to see part 2 with his Bitcoin and crypto markets overlook and predictions? Help us reach 100 likes in this video, and please subscribe and comment below, and we will bring that new video tomorrow. Thank you, and see you tomorrow for more daily crypto.